Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So Hare Krishna, notice. Jai Shri Shri Gauradesh ki jai. We have today 3 different types of meditations. First meditation was singing Radha Madhava, Jai Radha Madhava. This is meditation of Krishna and Vrindavan, Gopis, Yashoda, Nanda, Maharaj. The whole, Prabhupada says this Jai Radha Madhava song, this is a simple song with Bhakti Thakur. The whole spiritual world is there, Prabhupada says. Everything is there. Krishna is wandering in the forest, Vanachari. And so this is, when we sing this, this is one kind of meditation. We sing. So second kind of meditation is we will read about Srila Prabhupada today, and third kind of meditation we read from Srimad Bhagavatam, which will be the movements of the sun. We'll talk a little bit about sun god, not even sun god, but his entourage, how does this whole work around the sun. So you have three different mental concentrations today. So we'll read from the Transcendental Diary by Hari Sori Prabhu. This is a very, when I was a much younger devotee, I carried at that time, and there was no computers, if anybody remembers the time without computers, I carried these three books at that time, two or three books of Hari Sori Prabhu with me all the time. And I heartily recommend to all the devotees to read these two or three, now they have 5 parts. I think Hari Sori Prabhu makes another one. Sir?
Just translating.
Oh, sorry. He's publishing now the 6th part. And this is a very good book to actually see, to learn about Prabhupada. How did he act? How did he react in certain situations? When they got a letter from somebody, or there's some problems in ISKCON, how did Prabhupada react to this? Or how did Prabhupada answer some questions? Or how did Prabhupada answer to provocative questions? And what would Prabhupada do in general? What was his life? It's a great, actually, thing that Prabhu, Hari Sori Prabhu did this. This is written as a diary, because sometimes we can write about Prabhupada according to my own perception, but this is just the plain facts. There's no really, he didn't speculate, I thought Prabhupada. He just said Prabhupada says this, there's nothing else behind it. So we are in New Delhi. We were talking yesterday, this was actually, we read for the 3rd time the same passage, how Prabhupada says, we saw a flea-bitten dog on the street, and Prabhupada says, just see these dogs dying without master. So in the material world, all these people who have a master, if this world will stop as it is, these people without master will also die, or they will also be like this. And we saw this, as I mentioned last time, I was reading this from here, that this actually even happened recently during this pandemic, whatever you want to call it, particularly in India, that people from the big cities, they didn't have anything to eat, so they have to walk sometimes 300-400 kilometers back to their homes in a village so they can actually eat something. So we are continuing. This is a really important point. Harikesh responded that the government takes more and more and everybody gets poorer and poorer. Yes, Prabhupada replied, the government is also poor because they do not know how to govern. Buddhi yasya bhalam tasya. If one has got intelligence, he has got strength. Harikesh added, change of government means getting poorer. Just like they say, Prabhupada confirmed, a change of theories by the rascals. Change means rascal. Anything change means it is the domain of rascals. Pandemonium. Just like in Manu Samhita, it is said that women should not be given independence. Once said, that is a fact. If you want to change it, you suffer, that's all. I said, any deviation from absolute law means immediate suffering. Prabhupada agreed. Bas, immediately you have to suffer. You are painting a pretty bleak picture, Harikesh suggested. You know what bleak means? Dark. Or you're painting pretty dark picture, Harikesh suggested. Prabhupada did not immediately catch his idiomatic expression, so Harikesh elaborated. The one you are painting of a society in the future, there is no hope. Prabhupada says, no. Unless they take to Krishna consciousness, there is no hope. That's a fact. There will be more chaotic condition, and everyone will suffer and perish. Achina dhara dravina yasyanti giri kananam. This is already predicted. I'm not painting, it is already there. I'm simply repeating, that's all. I am not a speculator. And this verse, Achinna dhara dravina yasyanti kirikanana, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam 12 canto, which means having their wives and property taken away, the citizens will flee to the mountains and forests. Imagine the government take your wife, not just your property, but takes your wife and everything else, and then you have nothing, and then you just, taxes are so high that you have to go to the mountain and live in the caves in the mountains. It's amazing. But we see this is not impossible. You know, after this last 2-3 years, this was a very good indicator. They can do anything. They can announce from today on, you know, if your child is not vaccinated, we'll take your child. You know, this has already been in places. So they can, you know, the government can take a child because you are endangering the whatever species or whatever. And what to speak of other things? The taxes are becoming so high. Those who work, anybody who's working here, they know the taxes are very, very high. And in Germany particularly, the more you earn, the more taxes you have to pay. And the more insurance, the health insurance you have to pay. So if you earn, whatever, 10,000 a month, they will take, you know, lots of money and so on and so forth. So government is not friend of the people in Kali Yuga, at least. Not like Prithu Maharaj we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, very much friend of the people. But government is, Kali Yuga government is a little bit different. But Prabhupada here, he paints a very bleak picture, very dark. And he says there's no hope. He says I'm not predicting anything. It's already there. I'm simply repeating. That's all. I'm not a speculator. Actually, most of them are aware that they're in a very bad position. I added, sorry, Prabhu. Everybody's expecting another war. Just see, Prabhupada said, this is the capital of India. Just see the position. We can now understand. Prabhupada somberly observed an overloaded hand-drawn cart by several dirty, poor-dressed and barefoot men. At that time, the rickshaws were pulled by men. Now that we have electric rickshaws, you know, and there was before 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they had the rickshaws with bicycle. But this time they had people are pulling rickshaws. People are pulling load. Imagine you put yourself in such a position that you're pulling load like a horse. So Prabhupada says here, where is the economic development for these men? When there was no economic development, the same taila or cart and poor people with black cloth were there. And now the same thing is still there. So where is the development? Nature's law, you cannot check. It must go on. Bhagavatam says, don't try to improve all these things. It is not possible. Improve your Krishna consciousness. That will be benefit for your life. So Prabhupada here gives some example, philosophical example, that you cannot improve your karma. We can try to improve your karma, but it will not work. So even now is apparently better situation, but where is the improvement? Where is the, it's before the improvement, these people are there, and now after the improvement, people are still there. The suffering, the amount of suffering, the amount of enjoyment is already predestined. We cannot really change this. Sometimes, even as devotees, we think, I'm devotee now, so I should not suffer. Why am I suffering? So we go to Krishna, we complain. My dear Lord, why you make me suffer? Do you know, I'm your devotee, I'm practicing 6.5 years. What is this? And the Lord thinks, yeah, all right. You have to suffer a little more because of the purification. And even on the highest level, there's a suffering. On the highest level. Meaning on the level, even we saw in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto, when the gopis were called by Krishna with his flute. So Krishna would go into the forest and he would play his flute. And all the gopis would just left everything, whatever they had, household affairs, and they would just run to the forest. But some gopis could not go. So imagine, you are so much in love with Krishna and called you with flute and you cannot go. This is a big suffering. It's a big suffering. I know some devotees who actually could not, when they joined the Hare Krishna movement, they were not allowed. They became interested, but parents did not allow it. One devotee particularly, for years, for many, many years, he was not allowed to go to see Krishna. Because that's a long story, but the point is that this is all karma. We have to this is a burning of the bad karma. So gopis actually who could not go to see Krishna, they also burned their bad karma. There's some impurities there. It's described, various commentaries, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Goswami, describe that this is actually a purification of these gopis. You know, of course, there's a little more mystical than that. Some gopis actually went there, but they left their bodies. It is described that they left their bodies in the village, but they actually went. So the householders did not notice that they actually left. But this is a different story. The point is that according to Srimad Bhagavatam, they actually purify themselves. So purification is necessary for every devotee, and we should not think that I'm a devotee now and I should not suffer anymore. My mind should be now perfect, clear, everything is wonderful, and you walk around and everybody's just bowing down to you. Just like Krishna enters Vrindavan forest in the story of Dhenukasura, and all the trees are bending down with fruits, offering, touching the lotus feet of Krishna. We walk on the street and people say, "Oh, you're 3 years and 4 months a devotee. How about if I offer you obeisances?" Just, "Oh no, Prabhu." No, people, this is a material world. We cannot expect the greatest things in the material world. And we actually, Srila Prabhupada says, we actually deserve our suffering much more. But due to Krishna consciousness, our suffering is just, greatly reduced. He gives this example: we're supposed to have a car accident and then we cut ourselves. So we should be very happy that we're in Krishna consciousness. We should be very happy that we can actually participate in Krishna consciousness. It's an amazing thing. One devotee just yesterday wrote to me that he walked and somehow his ankle twisted, and he said, and I was thinking, man, I cannot participate in Rath Yatra, New York Rath Yatra. But he said, now his ankle is better. Now I realize Krishna is actually, it's mercy to actually be able to walk in the parade. So it's a mercy to walk in front of Jagannath, or behind Jagannath, or next to Jagannath, or whatever. So this is how devotee thinks. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any other comments or? No. So this was Srila Prabhupada. This was meditation number 2. Now we're going to the very serious meditation on Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a very difficult chapter here, describing the movements of the sun. We read already, and all these yojanas, description of different kinds of yojanas. I spent some time, maybe 10, 15 years ago in South India with Danavir Maharaj and his crew in Bangalore. He was making this video for the Vedic Planetarium, and we read all kinds of books, Puranas and different kinds of books. And for me, the most difficult book was Surya Siddhanta, movements of the sun, the moon, and we just looked at it and said, this is way beyond, I cannot even comprehend. Puranas, okay, you can understand, it's similar to Bhagavatam, but so we are reading now this. I will stay more on the descriptive side, not so much on the scientific side. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chayam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashta Priyesho Bhadreshu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nashtiki. Okay, let's try to. This is the 11, verse 11. I read it last time actually, so it's 12. Was it 12, Mark? Yeah. Eva Muhurtena. Okay, let's see, how can you read this? Evan Muhurtena Chatustrimshal Laksha Yojanani Ashta Shatadikani Sauro Rathas Traimayo Sau Chatarshu Parivartate Purishu Evam Das Muhurtena in a Muhurta 48 minutes Chatutrimshat 34 Laksha 100,000 Yojanani Yojanas Ashtashadikani increased by 800 Saurarataha the chariot of the sun god Raimaya which is worshipped by a Gayatri mantra. Om Bhur Bhuva Sva Tat Savitur, etc. Asau, that. Chatashrishu, to the four. Parivartate, he moves. Purishu, through different residential quarters. Translation. Thus the chariot of the sun god, which is Traimaya, or worshipped by the words Om Bhur Bhuva Swa, travels through the four residences mentioned above at the speed of 3,400,800 yojanas, or 27,206,400 miles in a muhurta. This is some speedy traveling there. One muhurta is 48 minutes. So he traveled 27 million miles in 4 minutes. That's a good speed, you know. The Vivasan is traveling. I mean, somebody likes to, you know, good speed. So this is what it is. So let's see, what do I have here? Traimaya here in this verse, Traimaya, that the chariot, the sun god is actually Traimaya. Traimaya means that he represents three Vedas, Rig, Sama, and Yajurveda. And this is also form of Narayan. Therefore, Surya Dev is called Surya Narayan. So therefore, when we chant Gayatri mantra, this Om Bhur Bhuva Swata Savitur. This is a well-known mantra in whole India. Every Brahmana chants this mantra. So this is actually invoking the Surya Narayan, sun god, who is actually represented by the three Vedas. So the next verse, there's no purport. We'll read the next verse. The internet allows that. The chariot of the sun god has only one wheel, which is known as Samvatsara. The 12 months are circulated to be its 12 spokes. Spoke is this on a wheel. The 6 seasons are the sections of its rim, and the 3 Chaturmasa periods are its 3-section hub. Hub is the center. On side of the axle carrying the wheel rests upon the summit of Mount Sumeru, and the other rests upon Manasottara mountain. Affixed to the outer end of the axle, the wheel continuously rotates on Manasottara mountain like the wheel of an oil pressing machine. Hare Krishna. Did you understand this? So, the oil pressing machine, I don't have I found the picture, but I don't know how can you transmit it here. Oil pressing machine is like this. There's a one like a pillar here, and there's a walls, and inside there's a wheel, and this wheel is attached to a pole, and then you have a horse or bull, and he walks around this thing, and this wheel is crushing whatever you put down there, you know, olives or whatever, you know, in Croatia, of course. You put some olives, and then this wheel is crushing these olives, and the oil comes out. So this sun god is also like this. This is described here. This wheel continuously rotates on the Manasotra mountain like the wheel of an oil pressing machine. So this is some interesting thing here, like Mount Sumeru. One of the axle carrying the wheel rests upon the summit of Mount Sumeru. Mount Sumeru is a pretty important mountain in our Vedic cosmology. And Mount Sumeru is the middle, basically is the middle of the universe. Here, a little bit technical stuff, but so this is our Puranic cosmography, you could say, and this is called Bhumandala, divided in 7 islands or Shaptadvipa. How does it look like? We don't know. Different people speculate in different ways, but this is a Saptadvipa, and 7 oceans, and each ocean is surrounded by different. If each ocean is a different substance, like we have a salty ocean, and the other dvipas, the oceans are made of, Prabhupada said, sugarcane juice. Wow, imagine swimming, you know, jumping from the cliff into sugarcane juice. It's pretty good, you know. Then ghee, ocean of ghee. What kind of fish are living? You know, I remember the fat fish. You know. Ocean of ghee. My favorite, yogurt. You know, ocean of yogurt. That's also interesting. And ocean of milk. So some very tasty oceans, I can imagine. So each of these dvipas, 7 dvipas, they were surrounded by ocean. And in the middle of it, in the Jambu Dvipa, there are 9, and so on. There's different mountains. In the middle of this, it's called Ilavrita Varsha, you know, these different Varshas. In the middle, it's like a whirl of a lotus, it is described, these different Varshas. And the middle is the Mount Sumeru. And this Mount Sumeru is made of pure gold, golden mountain. And this mountain extends so high, and on top of these mountains, there are different residences of the demigods, of the main chief demigods, Brahma, you know, Indra. And so this is where this is attached, the sun. So sun is actually illuminating from this Mount Sumeru down to all these different planets, heavenly planets, and including our planet. And because this Jambudvipa is like a cup, and it's blocking everything, so the lower planets, they cannot see the sun. And therefore it is described in the Bhagavatam, there is no sun in the lower planetary systems. So I'm sure they have some kind of electricity or some kind of enlightenment, but they don't have a sun at all. I mean, there's some countries also, 6 months no sun, Nordic countries, and they're just electricity. Have anybody been to these countries when there's no light at all? Day and night it's just constantly dark. So this is how it is, basically. So sun illuminates all these planets, because in the higher planets, higher than the heavenly planets, the planets of the sages, they don't need any illumination. They illuminated themselves. Tapaloka, Maharloka, and so on and so forth. So it's like this. 3 planetary systems, this higher planetary system, these are the yogis, this middle planetary system is us, you know, our planet and all these different Kimpurushas or whatever, this Ashwini Kumaras where they live. And then lower planetary systems, all the demons and on the Nagas, they don't have any sun. So sun is basically rotating only here to illuminate our own, there's many other planets, but where we are, at least this planet, the planet Earth. So this is the famous mountain, Sumeru. Because actually the name of the mountain is Meru, but because it's such a wonderful mountain, they call it Sumeru. So imagine people who live there. So Prabhupada says, Srila Prabhupada says, in discussion with his disciples, we were talking the other day about morning walks. How these morning walks are very important. because Prabhupada discussed many different topics with devotees, and devotees could express their doubts. Many devotees said, but Prabhupada, they say, the scientists said, but in reality this is what they think. But they somehow wanted to present it to Prabhupada. They say, Prabhupada says, no, what do you say? They say, Prabhupada said like this, they say, but what do you say? And they were like, Prabhupada, I also don't think. So Prabhupada discussed, and he said, Prabhupada says, yes, there are also golden mountains. And Swarup Damodar Maharaj said, the Mount Sumeru. Prabhupada says, yes, there are golden mountains, silver mountains, iron mountains, copper mountains, everything is there. And then and devotee, of course, one devotee has to say, oh, this new picture of Mars just came in the Washington Post today, the trustworthy newspaper. He said, there's a big crater. And he said, you know crater, when the volcano comes? And he said, this is a recent photo, and the photo is like, the same as. And Prabhupada said, so what do they say about Mars? And devotee said, they say it's like a Grand Canyon, just like Arizona. Anybody been to Grand Canyon, Arizona? It's very, you've been, oh. You see the books there. It's good for book distribution, actually. And we did really good at the entrance. And so the scientist said it's like a Grand Canyon, Arizona. Prabhupada was laughing. So Prabhupada said, so the picture must be from Arizona. Just like Arizona means Arizona, Prabhupada says. Because probably they found some rocks in Arizona. Prabhupada says, just see. Prabhupada says, that's all. They're not going. Arizona is there. Why they're talking Arizona? That means they are in Arizona. Just like one man was stealing from the room, and there were some sounds, and the master of house said, who is there? And the man said, no, I'm not stealing, I'm not stealing. Prabhupada had this wonderful sense of humor. That sometimes like this, I think sometimes, maybe one day, we'll collect all these interesting, funny quotes of Srila Prabhupada. There's so many funny quotes. I'm not stealing, I'm not stealing. So, if it's not from Arizona, why you say it's like Arizona? It must be from Arizona. So Prabhupada said, this is all propaganda. Anyways, so this is a little bit about this wonderful Sumeru mountain. The next verse, it's verse 14. So we're talking about oil pressing machine. As in oil pressing machine, the first axle is attached to a second axle, which is 1/4 as long, 3,937,500 yojanas, or 31.5 million miles. The upper end is in the second axle is attached to Dhruva Loka by rope of a wind. So let's now go back to this. It's a little technical stuff, but what to do? Bhagavatam offers, so we have to accept it. So we have the Sumeru mountain, we have all this Ilavritavarsha and other Jambudvip, and then this is attached with this one pole here, X, and then is rotating. The second X is higher as it's attached to Dhruva Loka. And this Dhruva Loka X is attached by the rope of wind. So this is interesting. Rope of wind is a very interesting thing. Because actually from Dhruva Loka, all the planets in this material universe are attached with the ropes of wind. So planets actually not floating, and we think it's floating. The planets are floating in the air. They are not floating. They're actually attached by the wind, and they're rotating. Just like these, people in this Cirque du Soleil or whatever, the circus, when they have these plates, they're like, and another one, they're like different plates, and you're juggling the different plates. So it's exactly like this. From the pole star, all these planets attached by the rope winds, and somebody's going like this, and all the planets are rotating. as the Indra Prabhu said, if you want to know how does it look like, go there and see it yourself. And we know this is just a description from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the planets actually attached like this. How does that work? I don't know. It's a very, for us, difficult to understand. But the planets are attached by the rope wind. Haribu. Next verse. My dear king, the carriage of the sun's god chariot is estimated to be 3,600,000 yojanas, or 28 million miles long, and 1/4 as wide, 900,000 yojanas, or 7,200,000 miles. The chariot's horses, which are named after Gayatri and other Vedic meters, are harnessed by Aruna Deva to a yoke that is also 900,000 yojanas wide. This chariot continuously carries the sun god. So what's going on here now is that we are, left from the universe. Now we're describing here the chariot of the sun god, who is going very fast. So what's going on is that the horses are named after different Vedic meters. So look a little bit for your pleasure. The different horses, and here they call Gayatri, Ushni, Anushtup, Brihati, Pankti, Trishtup, and Jagati. Those who are Sanskrit scholars, I'm sure they know that these are actually meters which you write poetry. Like you have for example, this Gayatri meter is called 888. 8 syllables, 8 syllables, 8 syllables. 3 verses, each verse 8 syllables. And Indram idgatino brihat, Indram arkevi arkina, Indram vanir anushata. This is 888. This is from Rig Veda. Glorifying Indra. And music, even in musical beats, it's written there. Dum, da, dum, da, da. So this is I thought this was very amusing. Of course, the point is that Vedic culture is so vast and so sophisticated. Not only they say, in the West here, you say you're an atheist, and you say, really, you do believe in God, you do believe there was a resurrection of Jesus, But we have so sophisticated, even music, how to actually write poetry, how to properly write poetry, how to actually play properly drums. Dum da, dum da. It's a Vedic meter. And this is the 8-8. And then there's also Jagati meter, which is 12-12-12. So there are different ones, 8-8-12, 8-8-8-8, and so on and so forth. So different meters, which is actually the Sanskrit literature, particularly the Vedas, are written in. And here somebody took their time to describe all different verses. Most of the verses are written in this 888 meter. In Rig Veda, 2,400 verses are written in this. But the other verses are also written. So on and so forth. So this is the next part. The horses. Purport. In the Vishnu Purana, it is stated, Gayatri cha brihati ushnik jagati trishtup eva cha anushtup panktir ityuktash chandamsi hareyo ravehe. The 7 horses yoked to the sun god, chariot god, are named Gayatri, Brihat, Ushnik, Jagati, Trishtup, Anushtup, and Pankti. These various names of Vedic meters designate the 7 horses that carry the sun god's chariot. Anyways, I think I will stop there, because later on we have the Nishchara. The sun god is just not alone. He's always surrounded, and he's surrounded by these Nishcharas who are actually behind him. And Nishchara means, Vanachari, one who wanders in the forest. Chari means forest. So Nishchara means one who wanders in the night. So these are different kinds of ghostly creatures, and they are behind the sun god in the night. So therefore, devotees, we stay awake during the day and we sleep during the night. We don't stay up all night, because this is not good, not auspicious period. So Nishcharas are following there, and he's surrounded by I don't know how many thousands of these Valikilyas. Valikilyas are the sages as big as thumb, small. And this is when Lord Indra saw them, and he was like, look at these small people, and he started laughing at them. They cursed them. So if you ever see small people, don't offend them. These are very great sages, and they're actually following Lord Indra, following Suryadev, and they said they're absorbing the heat of the sun, so that we don't, something like ozone layer or whatever, that we don't get burnt up. So, and they're chanting hymns glorifying Suryadev and so forth. What is interesting, when I was looking yesterday, is that actually we have our Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Samudita Gauradesh Pushpavanta Chitra Shanda Tamudita. The Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, just like the moon and the sun, appearing simultaneously in the horizon of Gauda to illuminate the whole world. So we have our sun and our moon also. So to come back to Suryadev, that interesting fact is I was looking yesterday because the driver, every demigod has a different driver. So not the Suryadev is driving the. If you're a rich man, you have a chauffeur. You don't drive yourself car. Even Srila Prabhupada says, when he was in the very early days in ISKCON, it was described in the 66 or something. Prabhupada would say to his early disciples that he had a car, but he never drove himself. And the devotees thought, wow, Swamiji, he has by his mystic power, he would just sit in the car and the driver would move. Because they thought about Prabhupada was, amazing personality. So they believed that Prabhupada would just sit in the car and the car would just go. Swamiji, he can do anything. But later on, the Prabhupada explained that he actually had a chauffeur. So that's why he did not drive, although he had a car himself. So each rich man has a chauffeur. So Suryadev also has a chauffeur himself. And this chauffeur is actually called Arunadev or Arun. And this Arunadev is a brother of Jatayu. He's a father of Jatayu. He's a brother of Garuda, which is interesting. He's a bird. And he's a driver of charioteer of this wonderful chariot. Because Suryadev sits in the back. So interestingly enough, I looked a little bit about this Aruna, and they said that in Egyptian mythology, the god of sun, they worship the sun called Ra. And this sun, Ra, is actually a bird. There's a falcon. So this is actually, they worship him Aruna. They don't even know. They think, the sun god is probably too much falcons for them. They cannot see. But actually, they worship in Arunadev. I was like, wow, they actually worship in Arunadev. So I'm sure they get lots of blessings from the Arunadev. The demigods, their own vehicles or their own drivers are equally capable of giving liberation, of giving blessings to the devotees. Like we have a famous carriers like Bull Nandi, not ordinary bull, he's actually bull carrying Lord Shiva. So I'm sure he has also equal mystic powers, because to carry Lord Shiva is like a servant of sannyasi. If you're a servant of sannyasi, you also have access to all these places which you may not have it, but because of you're associating, so you have to, in order to associate with sannyasi, you have to be also able to do this and go there. So Arunadev is, it's a long story also about Arunadev, but in general that he is the brother of Garuda and he is a charioteer of the sun god. So what I thought for the end, this was just some information about the sun, about the chariot and so on, to put it a little bit more our own daily life, is that we should know that these are actually what we experience as the sun and day is just movements of the sun god in reality. And we see when we fly with the airplane, we go up and everything is somehow sunny. And I'm sure if we could fly above the Mount Meru, we will see it's actually always illuminated. So for devotees, it's important to understand this, that for us, there's this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Yanisha Sarva Bhutanam, Tasyam Jagarti Samyami, Yasyam Jagrati Bhutani, Sanisha Pasheto Mune. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-control. So this is how we divide night and day. Not in the night and day, because we have in Vrindavan and Mayapur, we have a 24-hour kirtan. So actually there is no devotees, there is no difference between the night and day. But there is a difference between night and day in a sense of activities. We don't do things, as they said here. It's a time of awakening for the self-control. This is just opposite. Sometimes, of course, as we said, we sleep at night. But the point is that we do things which are not for what is night for all beings. So this is, and therefore, a Muni is the one who is introspective sage. So this is a devotee. And ultimately, you know, our actual sun and our actual moon and our illumination is Krishna, as we know, as I said already. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is our sun and Lord Nityananda is our moon. So Lord Chaitanya and Krishna is our sun, and it is described that Srimad again that in the transcendental planets, the supreme abode, Krishna says, the supreme abode of mind is not illumined by any sun or moon, nor by fire nor electricity. Those who reach never return to this material world, saying Nata Bhashati Surya Na Shashanko Na Pavakaha, famous verse from the Bhagavad Gita, describing that actually devotees going to the spiritual world where there's no need of artificial illumination, there's no need for anything like sun or moon or any illumination. Basically, the illumination means illuminating ignorance in the material world. You know, at night it's dark, and then in the morning it's light, so therefore we can see. We also read a few verses before in the Bhagavatam that without the sun we will not be able to exist. We will not be able to see ourselves. Imagine, how do you get married? Whom you know, in dark, okay, I would like to marry, you know. Or how do you eat? What you don't know what you're eating. And there will be no vegetables because there will be no sun, and so on and so forth. So therefore the sun is needed to illuminate the whole universe and to show us the light. But our real light for the devotees is Krishna. And once we go to this place, from which nobody returns, Yad Gatva Nani Vartate, it never returns. Tadama Paramama, this is the transcendental abode of Krishna. And therefore everything will be there, everything will be illuminated, self-illuminated. Imagine everything is self-illuminated. How is this? We will see when we get there. So I thank you very much for your attention on these difficult passages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Challenging passages, but we have to go through them. Would you like to ask anything or something similar? What Sebastian is half lifting his hand. Yes, Prabhu.
So, Lord, please. Thank you for the lecture. And it's beautiful that we have such a description. It's amazing.
Yes.
And I mean, when you listen, it's similar like when you watch some movies, you know, Avengers, and they have the Thor.
Long time ago.
Yeah. And I mean, it's another dimension.
Yes.
I don't remember this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam where it's written that no one can get something in his or her imagination if they didn't pass this in past lives on other planets and other dimensions.
Yes.
And nobody can imagine anything but Lord didn't already imagine.
Yes.
So also when people create such movies with some realms which are in another dimension, it's coming from their past lives and other dimensions also. So this is wonderful that we have these
Yes.
descriptions which actually really you can read it about it. It's very amazing. Thank you for a wonderful explanation, wonderful representation.
A little bit of illumination from the Bhagavatam. Anybody else? Then, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srimad Prabhupada ki jai.
Yes. Jai Sacinandana Prabhu ki jai.
It's such a heavy word these days. It's very what. Thank you for the